topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good afternoon. My favorite city in the world, Dallas-Fort Worth. Though we're modulating out of South Florida, I am from Dallas and went to high school there, went to Hillcrest High, and went to a great little college in Austin, Texas, called the University of Texas. Welcome to the Ask the Expert show. We've actually been doing this show for 8 years in Dallas, and now we've moved to TV and radio and podcast. I am so excited about our first show because we've got two great experts with us today. You know, if you've ever wondered about hormone replacement, we've got the best doctor in the United States. And when it comes to personal injury, I believe our personal injury attorney has been with us for several years, gets so many compliments on the show, and he will be in the second half of the show. So let me welcome you to Dr. Taylor of Taylor Medical Group out of Atlanta, Georgia. Good afternoon, Dr. Taylor.
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm so used to saying good morning because Dr. Taylor does an Ask the Expert show with us in Atlanta, and we did one this morning at early in the morning, 10 o'clock this morning. But we're here with you, and you know, all these people who've been asking us about hormone replacement, holistic medicine. You are going to love this show, and I'm so glad we've got Dr. Taylor with us. Dr. Taylor, tell everybody about I love the story of your background, and tell them about your practice.
Okay. My name is Dr. Eldridge Taylor. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Went to Vanderbilt University undergrad, and then moved to Atlanta to go to Emory University, and then did a residency in obstetrics and gynecology at Emory. And I practiced. I met my wife there. She's also a physician. And met my wife there, got married, and did a residency, and then started practicing obstetrics and gynecology, just like I was taught in school. I delivered babies, I did pap smears, I gave out birth control pills, hormones, did hysterectomies, just like every other OBGYN.
Did you deliver a few babies, Dr. Taylor?
Probably about 4,000 or 5,000. People ask me, do I miss it? Because I stopped practicing. I stopped doing obstetrics in 2006. And I told them after about the first 1,500, it kind of gets a little bit routine. So I don't necessarily miss it that much. But everything was going fine until my wife started having hormone issues. Started, PMS and irregular bleeding, and she was just.
Were you in trouble?
Yeah, she was just miserable for a couple of weeks out of the month. And I just happened to have a patient that came in and asked me about bioidentical or natural hormones. This was back in the late 1990s. And I thought the person was crazy. I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. But she gave me a tape by Dr. John Lee, and it explained hormones and how they work, how bioidentical hormones work, or how your body's natural hormones work, and also how you measure hormones, which I never measured hormones in my residency. We just gave birth control pills to young women, hormone replacement to older women. And he talked about measuring hormones in saliva. And that tape, that 1 hour tape, changed my life forever. And I started measuring hormones through saliva, and I was surprised at what you could do and how much you could help women by doing that, and men. And from that kind of took the blinders off of me and opened my eyes up to see what else didn't I learn in medical school. So now I have a more holistic or functional medicine practice where we don't just focus on disease and pharmaceuticals and surgery. We focus on how can we help the body function as well as it possibly can for as long as it can. You know, my parents, they've passed away, but I saw my parents, their health deteriorated for the last 10 or 15 years of their life. They just took more and more medications, kept going to more and more doctors until their health just finally failed and they passed away. And I kind of made a commitment to myself that I didn't want that to happen to me. And so I started to learn about how to help the body function even in its more mature years. I won't say later years. I'm 62, so 60 and 70 and 80 is not quite as old as I thought it was when I was 30.
Well, I want everybody to know, because you are an MD,
Yeah.
and you practice holistic medicine, but
Right.
you are not against conventional medicine.
No, not at all. You get hit by a car, you have a heart attack, you have certain types of cancers and things. You don't want to come to me. I am not a disease-based doctor. Now, I can help to get people off of some medications that they may be on, but conventional medicine, they are taught to identify and treat a disease or diseases or certain conditions. But you have to understand that disease didn't happen the day before you went to the doctor, because you know how you go to the doctor, they do tests, they say, come back next year, we'll run the same test, come back next year. Now it's 10 years down the line, and now, oh, you have hypothyroidism, you have Cushing's, you have whatever. Well, along that way, we try to intervene before you get to that point. So we try to see what's not functioning well before you get to that disease state. So that's the difference. So if you have a disease, if you have an identifiable condition, then yes, go to conventional medicine. Most of my patients have gone to multiple doctors. They've had the same tests run over and over. So what we do is we do a different set of tests. We're not looking for disease, we're looking for dysfunction. And when you intervene at the point of dysfunction, usually the treatment is a lot less abusive to the body. So yeah, I'm not anti-conventional medicine. I think I'm fortunate that I had that training and I kind of self-taught myself the holistic training. And I really want to go back. People call it alternative medicine, but what I'm really practicing is basic physiology and biochemistry. Is just going back to the old physiology books and the biochemistry books, learning how the body actually functions and try and intervene to help it function better and not try to interrupt function with drugs and surgery.
Well, I got to tell you that it is, I can give an incredible endorsement for Dr. Taylor. My fiance, and I want everybody to know this because Dr. Taylor is out of Atlanta, but it doesn't matter because he can do, you've heard of telemedicine. My fiance did the telemedicine with Dr. Taylor right over the phone and the computer because you believe in the saliva test rather than the blood test.
Yeah. And I hate to say I believe in it, but it's just a more accurate way of measuring fat soluble hormones. And it's just a fact. And just because a lot of people don't use it doesn't deny the fact that it is a fact. In 4 years of residency in OBGYN, we never drew blood levels of hormones. We never did it because it did not tell you anything. And we can talk about that and discuss that more later on.
Yes.
That's a whole nother 25 minutes.
Yeah, I just want everybody to know we're going to be talking about weight loss. We're going to be talking about ED. We're going to be talking about stress. We've got so many topics that we will be doing down the road. And that's why I'm so glad we've got Dr. Taylor. Go right ahead, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah. So, we never drew any blood tests. We always did hormone therapy by trial and error. there's probably 30 different birth control pills. So we just trial and error give people birth control pills. Trial and error giving women estrogen and and Provera. And so it was really just trial and error. Let's see, does this work? Let's see, does that work? Well, you can cut out a lot of the trial and error if you actually know what the level of the hormone is and you balance the hormones. And the only way I know to do that accurately is through saliva. Saliva will give you the tissue levels of the hormones and not the blood levels. So, I have been doing salivary testing probably since 1996 or 1997. Saliva testing first started in the 1960s, so it's not some newfangled invention. It's been around for a long time, and more and more people are starting to utilize it, but we still have a long way to go for women to be properly tested and treated for hormone imbalances.
Well, it's we got it in the mail, and it's very easy to do, and then you send it back to Dr. Taylor, and I guess your labs send out a report, but it tells you where you're lacking at or that you have too much, which is so important.
Yeah, it's really important. It's hard to treat something that you can't measure or you can't identify. Otherwise you're just going to be doing trial and error. You're going to be guessing. Sometimes you'll guess right, sometimes you'll guess wrong. This takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Just like Steve is saying, I can hand you the report and you can see what's low and you can see what's high. It's very easy to read. It's very easy to understand. Where when I went through my residency and before I knew this, it was all a mystery. A woman come in, oh, you've got fibroids, you've got irregular bleeding. We never tested to see if their hormones were out of balance. We just gave them birth control pills. So now you can see what's going on. You can balance the hormones and you can help control the bleeding. You can help control the PMS. You can help stop the fibroids from growing. You can help prevent breast cancer if you can manage the hormones before you get that lump in, they see that lump in the mammogram. So it just makes treating patients so much easier when you can identify what is going on.
But what's so scary, Dr. Taylor, is, boy, you see all these products, increase your hormones, your testosterone. You go buy it and you start taking these pills, but you don't even know where you're lacking at or where you have too much at.
Yeah. I tell patients, I said, look, you go to GNC and tell the cashier or whatever, hey, I'm looking for something to help me with fatigue or help me. They'll show you 30 different supplements because they're just trying to sell supplements.
Right.
And that's what a lot of, you'll go in Whole Foods and what should I get for this? It's 20 different things and they'll sell you all of them if you want to buy them. And I see patients will come in with these big bags of supplements. And I'm like, look, let's just put those aside. Let's test you. Let's see what's actually going on. Then we can figure out what you need. And a lot of times, they may need one or two of those 30 pills that they have. And I don't know if we talked about this. I also have a supplement company called Taylor MD Formulations. And when I first started getting into this, I spoke for a lot of supplement companies, and they were convincing me to use all of these supplements where we were using individual supplements. This is B5, B6, B7, and then this and that and that. And I'm like, this is crazy. I can't get a patient to take 10 pills because I don't want to take 10 pills.
Right.
We try to combine ingredients where I believe that a person's only going to take 2 or 3 things on a consistent basis. So we try to combine supplements so that we can do 1, 2, and at the most 3 supplements to help to correct a problem that we've identified through our testing so that we're not guessing, what the dysfunction is.
Just out of curiosity, what is your strongest supplement? It's not strongest, but most popular.
Probably 2. One is our amino acid supplement because proteins are hard to digest. You also have people who are vegans, and there are some things that you do need to get from to get protein. So we have an amino acid supplement that has a lot of other vitamins and minerals in it. Amino acids are important for brain function because that's how you make neurotransmitters. And probably the other most popular one is a supplement called Serene Calm. Serene Calm has an ingredient called phosphatidylserine, and phosphatidylserine helps to normalize cortisol levels. And again, that'll be another topic we'll do. But it
Yes.
normalizes cortisol levels. So stress causes cortisol to go up, and that can cause weight gain, difficulty sleeping, suppress your immune system, all sorts of things. So Serene Calm is probably our best seller now, and the Amino Restore. And then we also have an adrenal supplement because Serene Calm helps bring high levels down of cortisol, and Adrenacare, the adrenal gland is what makes cortisol. It helps to normalize. It has adaptogens in it like ginseng and rhodiola that helps to normalize cortisol levels. So between amino acids and cortisol, balancing cortisol and normalizing cortisol, those are probably our 2 or 3 most popular products.
Well, I know that my fiance was really having a hard time sleeping. She was always tired, and didn't matter if she starved herself, she would gain weight.
Yeah.
And I think the cortisol really made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, she started sleeping better, and and your prices are really good, Dr. Taylor. I mean, from the telemedicine, and it's just, you've got great prices, and we know you got great product. We talked about something today, which I did not know. We were talking about testosterone and that your body can only absorb so much.
Yeah. Well, what happens is that all hormones have receptors. So this is the receptor, this is the hormone. The hormone attaches to the receptor, and then it causes the body to do what that hormone is supposed to do. So in men, it increases their libido. It helps them to build muscle, all those things. So, but what happens is that if you take too much testosterone and your body sees too much of it, your body will stop making testosterone on its own. And in men, what can happen is if your body's not going to make it, your testicles begin to shrink, and that can be very stressful for a man. That can be very stressful for a man. So what happens? What you want to do is you don't want to overwhelm the body with too much hormone, because 2 things will happen. 1, the body will shut down its own production, and then number 2, the longer that receptor is occupied with that hormone, because you got all this hormone running around so that the receptor is always full, your body begins to be desensitized. It says, hey, I'm not going to react the same to this testosterone because there's so much of it. I need to down-regulate my response to it. So often you'll see men that they will take testosterone first 4, 5, 6, 7 months, they feel great. Then that great feeling starts to wane. And if you don't understand that, they'll go back to the doctor, and the doctor will increase the dose. Well, that's the exact wrong thing to do, because now there's more testosterone. Your body's going to shut down more, and now that receptor is even more full, is more occupied. So now it down regulates it more. The real thing that you want to do is you want to back off of the testosterone, give that receptor some breathing room so that it can recover. And then now you put the testosterone back on that. Now you get that initial reaction. So yeah, the body it's very self-regulating, and so you don't want too much hormone, and you don't want too little hormone. It's very important to have a therapeutic amount and make sure that the hormones are balanced with each other. So that's I said this morning, I don't like to call it hormone replacement. I like to call it hormone balancing, because you don't want to replace everything that the body is
right.
You just want to augment it and balance it in the appropriate manner with the other hormones.
Hey, Dr. Tate, we just got a text from a viewer. New viewer wants to know, do you treat bodybuilders?
Not, I may have one or two in the practice, but you know what? Those guys and girls are hard to manage. Okay.
Ah,
They have their own ideas about what they want to do with hormones. And again, a lot of those guys are at the point where those receptors are not as responsive. So they're going to want to use doses that I'm not comfortable with prescribing.
I'm
Okay.
glad you said that.
Yeah. So if they are willing to listen and, and do it in a more normal way, that's fine. But, if they're willing to listen, I'll be happy to help them. But, that's what I think happens is they'll start out with testosterone and then they go to stronger and stronger anabolic hormones in order to get that same result. And then that begins to cause problems down the road.
Well, we're if you're watching on TV, you can see the best way to reach Dr. Taylor through his website's the best way to do it. If you're listening on radio, Dr. Taylor, give them your website address.
Yeah, our website is taylormedicalgroup.net, not .com, .net. So taylormedicalgroup.net. We have, if you go to health news, we have a lot of articles. My wife does a lot of blogging. So just for the educational purpose, I would tell you to go to the website. If you want to make a telehealth or telemed appointment, you can go up to the upper right of the website and it says book now, and we can book a online visit. We can actually even send you the test and let you do the testing before we do the visit so that we have all the information to start, treatment if necessary. So taylormedicalgroup.net, and our phone number is 678-443-4000.
Well, I got to tell you, you can rest assured because there's some doctors out there that don't really understand this the way Dr. Taylor is, and he's dedicated his practices. Dr. Taylor will be back again with us next month. And Dr. Taylor, I only have to say, we love having you on.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And I'll see you probably.
You'll see me soon.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dr. Taylor.
All right. Bye-bye, Dallas.
Yes. That's Dr. Eldred Taylor. He is one of the finest, I call him an anti-aging doctor. He is just, to give up a practice, an OBGYN practice, and go into holistic medicine, that was pretty brave of him. Now, our next show, which another show I'm really excited about, he has been with us, I would say, for several years, but I got to this is the first time I've actually hosted his show, and he is a personal injury attorney, and he doesn't just do auto accidents. In fact, today we're going to be talking about Social Security, disability, and benefits. And I got to tell you, we have gotten so many compliments regarding attorney Mark Underwood. He's a personal injury attorney in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I guess we're going to bring him on from what we call our green room and see if we got Mark there. Again, you're listening. There he is. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're with you every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Central Time. And it's funny, we've been getting texts from as far down as Conroe. That's surprising. But Mark, I am so glad that we have you on with us. And you also have an office in Virginia too, right?
Steve, originally I grew up in West Virginia, and I still have an office there in Huntington, West Virginia. But my main office at this point is in beautiful downtown McKinney, Texas.
Wow. My son actually owns a store in McKinney right off of 75. He's got a mattress store there.
Well, there you go.
And I had some partners who were in both of them have passed away now, but the Boyd Law Firm in McKinney, But anyhow, I'm so glad we've got you. So this is our first TV show together. Tell everybody about your practice.
Well, we have a practice that is somewhat national in scope. We do a lot of disasters. We like to say when disaster strikes your family or other loved ones or you yourself, we're the lawyers to call. We initially started out doing personal injury and doing a lot of trials. And then in about 2010, that morphed into doing some of the worst disasters in the country. 2010, we did a case called Upper Big Branch, which was where 29 coal miners died in a coal mine in West Virginia in an accident. We had 12 coal miners who were injured in that case. And then that morphed into the West Texas fertilizer plant explosion down in the town of West Texas, headed down towards Austin, where you went to school. And we had, with a couple of other lawyers, we had 182 clients in that case. That led us to a class action involving the spill of a chemical used for cleaning coal called MCHM that poisoned the water around Charleston, West Virginia for 300,000 people. And that led to another class action regarding property damage related to the Arkema chemical explosion in Houston, Texas during Hurricane Harvey. And that led to another one and led to another one and led to another one. So nowadays we do the worst disasters in the country.
Well, I have to ask you something, and I knew you handled major disasters. What is going on with a lot of these food plants being shut down?
I don't know. I really haven't had a chance to keep up on it. We keep, and we've looked at those cases over the years. We've handled some, small food contamination cases. But I suspect what is usually the culprit in most instances is E. coli bacteria contamination.
Yes.
Without knowing which particular one and looking it up and researching, I really couldn't tell you the specifics of what's going on with a particular food manufacturer. Of course, during COVID, we had people getting sick with COVID and then spreading throughout the plant very, very rapidly. I don't know that that's a problem now, but surely 2 years ago that was a big deal.
Well, you never know who's watching the show. I guess you've seen what's going on in Ohio with the trains. Those are going to be some big disaster cases, aren't they?
Yes, we looked really seriously about getting involved in that case, and that's not too far, a few hours from my Huntington, West Virginia office. And we've handled train derailment disaster cases in the past. We looked really closely at that, but right now we're still dealing with the Arkema case, the ITC case. And we actually have a case in Ohio called the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Uranium Enrichment Plant class action, which is a series of cases involving Piketon, Ohio, relatively close to the train derailment, and the contamination of a middle school with radiation from the nearby nuclear enrichment power facility.
Well, I want to start off, Mark, you really are a very unique law firm. I want to tell everybody, because, we have a lot of lawyers that listen and watch our show. And we have had so many lawyers who've actually caught Mark's show with us and wanted to do a show very similar, which we've got our personal injury attorney in Mark. But the reason why I brought this up is, usually when you've got people in the same profession, they'll tend to maybe put a few knocks on you. I got to tell you, Mark, the attorneys who've called us, of course, first thing they go is, I know Mark, who he is, nothing but good things about you, Mark.
Well, that's really great to hear, because every single day I feel like I get some knocks, by opposing counsel. And of course, in our larger cases, we're literally dealing with the largest law firms in the world. And boy, they'll take every opportunity to knock at you that they can. So thanks for telling me that. I'll tell my wife that, and it'll make both her and I smile tonight.
Yeah, because I probably get at least one a show. And in fact, I'll start writing these names down. But they heard your name, they heard you in the show, and they liked your show so much they wanted one also. Today I wanted to talk about Social Security disability benefits. Can you tell people why they need an attorney to get Social Security disability benefits?
Well, one of the main reasons they need to get an attorney to get Social Security disability benefits at the most basic level is attorneys have a higher approval rate than individuals who are going pro se, which is Latin for means by themselves. So lawyers have a much higher approval rate than individuals pursuing it themselves. Of course, a lot of people who are disabled have a mental component to their disability, whether they're in extraordinary pain or they're depression or anxiety, or they may be grasping at their last opportunity of life sometimes with disability. And if that's the type of condition that you're in, do you really want to spend it doing the things that lawyers do? I mean, do you want to spend the last 2 years of your life filling out paperwork that doesn't seem to have an explanation, figuring out how to get it to the Social Security Administration? It's a dirty job. Let us do it.
Do you want to deal with the government?
If that's the last things you're doing in life, God help us,
I remember my son was in an auto accident and he thought he could save some money, Mark. So guess what he did? He tried to handle it himself. And he will tell you today that it was the biggest mistake that he did, that an attorney, he admits it, an attorney would have gotten him so much more money. So he wasn't really saving any money trying to do it himself.
Well, and the difference between doing it in a car wreck case versus doing it in a social security disability case is pretty drastic, because in a car wreck case, it might cost you some money, but in a social security disability case, it might cost you the entire case. It's personal injury case. You might be talking about, say the lawyer was getting you a settlement of $20,000 versus individually by yourself, you were getting a $12,000 settlement. Well, okay, you can debate the merits of what the lawyer contributed to the case. But, in a Social Security disability case, you are on your last legs. Financially, you've got nothing left. You're about to you've already lost your job.
Right.
You may have already lost your house. You may be living with relatives now. You may be living in a backyard shed that's been remodeled by somebody. You're literally on your last gasp at a normal life, and that Social Security disability approval is going to get you a monthly income that will last you basically the rest of your life. And then on top of that, when you get Social Security disability, a few months afterwards, you apply for and you receive Medicare. So, if you're disabled, getting regular medical treatment is critical to, number one, living.
Yes.
Number two, trying to get your life back together and maybe go back to work at some point. So, not getting a lawyer in a Social Security disability case can really cost you a lot of things, including some things more precious than money.
Right. Well, Mark, what do you look for as an ideal candidate when you're meeting with someone for disability benefits?
Well, very good question. The first thing is, what are their conditions and how bad are their conditions? Secondly, have their conditions made them quit working? Is the claimant or potential claimant no longer working? Number three, is the potential client getting regular medical treatment? Number four, how old is the particular client? Because it's easier to get approved the older you are with Social Security disability. And typically, if you're above the age of 50, it's a lot easier to get than if you're below the age of, say, 48. So those are the things that I'm going to glance at real quickly to decide whether or not this is a case that we can help somebody with and whether or not we'll take it.
What? How does someone even know if they would qualify for disability benefits?
Well, the first question is there a medical condition or mental condition that is preventing them from being able to work? That's the first thing, first question that they have to ask. Second thing is you can go on the Social Security Administration's website and look at your work history and determine whether or not you qualify for SSDI benefits. And SSDI stands for Social Security Disability Income. And SSI if they don't qualify, if they haven't worked enough months or enough years to qualify for SSDI, they probably will qualify for SSI. And the SSI program is very similar to the SSDI program, but you don't have to have the work history and you don't have to have paid into it like with SSDI. Of course, if you get approved for SSI, you're entitled to get Medicaid, which is not as good of a program as Medicare that you would get with SSDI, but there is a medical program there for people who are awarded SSI disability benefits also.
I bet you get this question probably a lot. If a person can't work, but his spouse is still working, will that keep them from being able to apply for disability benefits?
So it will not keep them from applying for SSDI disability benefits. SSDI benefits, the family's assets or the family's income have no relevance to successfully applying for SSDI. However, family assets will affect your ability to get SSI. So, and that amount of assets that is the cutoff changes every year a little bit, but yes, if your spouse is working, and it's not so much their income, but the assets that have been accumulated as a result of the income over years, that may prevent you from applying for SSI.
What about what are the chances of getting approved for disability? I bet you there's a percentage for that.
Yeah, so there's basically three steps. Three steps where you might get approval in the disability process. The first step is the initial application, and when you file the initial application, about 97% are denied. But then the second step is what's called a request for reconsideration. When you file a request for reconsideration, they take a second look at it, and I think probably that statistic is about 87 or 88% are denied at the request for reconsideration level. And then you have what's called the third step, which is a request for hearing. And in front of an administrative law judge for the Social Security Administration, about 40% get approved. So your odds go up the further in the process that you go.
So is there a special judge that handles this?
Well, so there are what it's called OHO. That's the part of the Social Security Administration that handles it. And there's an administrative law judge that is hired to handle the case. He's or she is a federal judge. They don't handle trials in front of juries. They just do Social Security disability claims all day long.
Okay. We just got our first text, Mark. James, actually he's in Plano, which is pretty close to you, says his doctor put him off work for at least 8 months. He wants to know, can he get temporary disability benefits through Social Security, even though he plans on returning to his job?
Temporary Social Security, temporary disability benefits is actually a term typically used on private disability insurance policies. So the Social Security Administration doesn't really have a temporary disability program. It does have what's called a trial return to work program. So if you have been disabled for more than 6 months, you apply for disability, you still haven't gone back to work, you're awarded disability benefits, and say 2 years later, you decide you want to try to go back to work. There is what's called a trial work period where you can try to go back to work. And if you're successful, great, you're ultimately taken off Social Security disability. If you're unsuccessful, you're able to work for a couple of weeks or a month, but then have to go quit again or get fired again because of disability. You can go right back to your disability benefits that you were receiving before under this trial work program.
We're here with attorney Mark Underwood, Underwood Law Firm. Mark, give everybody your phone number.
Hey, so the easiest way to get a hold of us is to call 844-UNDERWOOD. That's toll free, 844-UNDERWOOD. If you want to call local, you can call us at 972-535-6377.
Okay, I guess we have a wrong number up here.
The number you've got up there is actually not a wrong number. It's just not our main number. It's
okay, because I know we got it off your website. I know this is not a cookie cutter when it comes to how long it takes to get start getting your Social Security benefits, but is there kind of a time? How long does it take to get disability benefits?
Well, when you said cookie cutter, I guess it is a cookie cutter, but how the cookie is cut depends upon the ingredients that you put into the cookie.
Oh, that's good, Mark.
If you put, ginger and flour and oatmeal, you may get a different type of cookie than if you put chocolate chips and oatmeal in it or something. So it depends on what type of cookie we're cooking, and but roughly what you're looking at is probably, of course, it depends on when you get approved, the first step, the second step, or the third step. So, but really, you're probably now, and it's really probably now is about 18 months. It used to be about 24 months. They have worked through the backlog a little bit. One of the positive things about COVID is they started doing a lot of hearings, Social Security disability hearings by Zoom. So they can do a whole lot more
yes.
hearings during a day. So they've worked through a lot of the backlog all around the country, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth offices, which we have 3 hearings offices in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
What if a person's been diagnosed with cancer? Do they still have to wait that long for their disability benefits?
Well, it depends on what type of cancer. It depends on what type of cancer there is. There's what's called a compassionate allowance. And literally just before we went on the show, a client came in whose wife has a brain tumor, and we're going to try to get her case expedited into that, what's called the compassionate allowance case. Also, like blindness cases you can usually skip to the head of the line. And so now a skin cancer that's been excised and cleared up, you're going to wait just like everybody else. But brain cancer or blindness, you might be able to fall under the compassionate allowance provisions.
I don't know if this is like personal injury or maybe tax resolution, but when a client hires you, do you then do all the talking for them? They don't have to contact Social Security themselves?
Well, we do all the paper talking for them for sure. All the paperwork, all that stuff, we help them prepare it. We submit it. We handle those contacts so that so the client's not hassled. But when it comes to a hearing, they have to testify, and they show up. They'll have to answer what questions the judge likes us to ask them. And if the judge has any follow-up questions, the judge will ask those follow-up questions. So they've got to be prepared to testify at a hearing. But we take a lot of pride in getting our clients prepared for the hearings. We have a video that I prepared a bunch of years ago about Social Security disability hearings. Of course, I looked much younger in that video than I do now. But and I had a lot more hair back then. I'll tell you. But so we get our clients prepared, and they're very comfortable and confident in what they're doing when they're testifying in front of that administrative law judge.
Why isn't like you hear all the time about someone who got a letter from their doctor stating they can't return to work because of their disability? Sometimes that's just not good enough to get disability benefits, is it?
Sometimes that's just not good enough. And as a matter of fact, most of the time it's just not good enough. And, bless the souls of the doctors that think that they can just write a one-sentence letter and get somebody disability. Because, it's just much, much more complicated than that. Disability actually has several different components. One is the condition, mental or physical condition of the patient. One is the age of the patient. One is the work history of the patient. All of those things go into a determination of disability. Disability is about whether or not you can get and hold down, get and keep a job. And that's based on a lot more than what happened to you medically. Somebody who has had a very severe condition when they're 25 is still a lot more employable than someone who has the same identical severe condition at age 62. So when the doctor writes that one-sentence letter and they think they're doing you a favor, it's good that they're writing that letter, but it's just a start. And we have what's called a residual functional capacity evaluation, which goes into things like, how much a person can lift, how long can they sit in a chair, how far they went in school, all of those things. That's what you really need to get in front of the administrative law judge, is the residual functional capacity evaluation. And that's the gold standard of disability evidence. So God bless the doctors that write the one-sentence letters. We appreciate them, but, we're going to need more.
Well, as you can tell, Mark has been real honest with you, upfront with you about how the system works. Mark, I am so glad that we have you as our expert, and I can't wait for our next show next month. Let's give everybody that is listening, because they can see it on the monitor, but let's give them your phone number and your website address again. So,
hey, the website is www.underwoodlawoffice.com. That's underwoodlawoffice.com. Just my last name, Underwood, and lawoffice.com. The phone number, again, 844-UNDERWOOD. That's toll free, 844-UNDERWOOD. And we will be happy to talk to you about Social Security disability or any other injury or disability type question you might have. And we'd love just for you to call us up and tell us you heard our show today.
Yes, and we just had someone ask, are you open on Saturdays?
We are open on Saturdays if it's a case that we're in.
By appointment only?
Yeah, by appointment only. You can call the office and somebody will still answer the phone. We have an after hours answering service that'll talk to you, ask you about your case, interview you, get us the facts that we need to make an initial determination. But if you want to come into the office or by Zoom to talk to us, we can set those appointments up.
Mark, you're the best. We'll see you again next month. That's Attorney Mark Underwood, and Mark will be back with us next month. Thank you so much, Mark.
Steve, I can't wait till we get together in Austin sometime.
Absolutely. Okay. And we come to the end of another Ask the Experts TV show. We will be back with you next week with more experts in the fields of health, legal, financial, and home improvement. Everybody have a wonderful and blessed week. We'll see you soon. Thanks again.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.